we have to trace how one event leads to another and affirm how one undertaking resulted from another, hence creating in mind a concrete scenario of the past. History is the story of how things happened in the past. People who do not know the country's history will not understand the society they live in. History, which is a research of the past, would make us understand the present. But do we really understand our nation's history? Particularly how the 7,169 more or less islands and islets were acquired by the Spaniards? What land titles were issued, and whose names those vast tracts of land were recorded in that era? Sad to say, many Filipinos today have limited views or little understanding of vital issues and social trends, resulting probably from a damaged culture, colonial mentality, or a nauseous guessing methodology of analyzing the past. Their myopic views have made actual or true events, like the registration of big tracts of land covering provinces and municipalities, appear today so ridiculous, a myth, and a fantasy. Are we aware of the existence of tremendous land holdings acknowledged to be valid and authentic by the Supreme Court? This is the land title owned by the Piedad Estate. Allegedly, Piedad Estate was originally registered on March 12, 1912 under original certificate of title 614 of the Register of Deeds of the province of Rizal in the name of the Philippine government. OCT number 614 covers about 164,127 hectares of land situated in the provinces of Laguna, Bulacan, Cavite, Bataan, Cebu, Rizal, Isabela, and Mindoro. If the Philippine government has adequately accepted the more complex ownership of land structure by recognizing OCT 614 of the Piedad Estate covering 8 provinces, which the 2 provinces were greatly and distantly separated by water, then it is more logical to consider the vast tracts of land of the Acopiados under TCT numbers 407, 408, 409, and 498 that cover only adjacent provinces, municipalities, and cities. Since most Filipinos are not familiar with these particular historical events, they were easily deceived by this long-accepted but misleading information. To refute the myth and reasonably ascertain of what was really happened in the past, let us look back at the events of those days. In page 251 of the book, The Philippines and the United States, the Forging of New Relations, and page 167 of the book, The Law on Squatting and Demolitions, this is how the history was recorded. Almost all the land titles granted by the court and land registration up to 1910 were of large private land holdings. The vastness of the land holdings was supported in page 86 of the same book, The Philippines and the United States, the Forging of New Relations, as stated. The doctrine was formulated with specific reference to the Philippines in the Treaty Declaration, Article 8, that the cession of the islands to the United States cannot in any respect impair the property or rights, which by law belong to the peaceful possession of property of all kinds of provinces, municipalities, public or private establishments, ecclesiastical or civic bodies, or any other association having legal capacity to acquire and possess property in the aforesaid territories. In our experience, we, the Maharlikans group, often encountered not only humiliation in court battles, but also through destructive interpretations by some government agencies and officials, particularly those concerned in land titling. These incidents have corrupted the minds of the public. This important issue will be discussed in part 2 of this documentary and hopefully will serve as an eye-opener to millions of Filipinos who were blinded about these monumental irregularities in the issuance of land titles. When the Spaniards came, the people were grouped in barangays ruled by a datu. They lived on land that all the barangay members helped to cultivate. No one claimed any parcel of territory as private property. By right of conquest, the Spanish crown claimed all the lands and freed the people from their datus, but made them vassals of the king. By virtue of the conquest and discovery of the Philippines by Magellan in 1521, these groups of islands became the exclusive patrimony and dominion of the Spanish government. The Spanish government since then took charge of distributing the lands by issuing royal grants and concessions to discoveries, settlers, vassals, and other people in varied forms. By means of these grants and concessions issued by the Crown of Spain, titles to land grants were acquired by the respective grantees. From the above-cited events, Spaniards did not land grab any land. No one owns the land as private property. Likewise, there was no supreme authority that ruled all the titles as a single political entity. Instead, neighboring tribes were constantly fighting one another. The first task of the Spaniards in the country was to unify the people under one religious faith and one government with its seat in Manila. If the crown helped spread the gospel of Christ, the Spaniards could in conscience colonize and impose their own government on the Filipinos. That is why the royal instructions mentioned pacification and hardly conquest. In the Spanish tradition, a conquered land was divided into encomiendas or sectors of land, together with its inhabitants who were entrusted. In Spanish, encomendar is to entrust to the encomendero as a reward for his service to the crown. In the Project Gutenberg e-book of the Philippine Islands, 1493 to 1898 by Emma Helen Blair, clearly cited that almost 2/3 of Mindanao was already allotted by the King of Spain to Don Esteban Rodriguez de Figueroa as early as 1591 as stated. It is granted in Majesty's name that once the said pacification and colonization is completed, he may allot the land and island of Mindanao into encomiendas as follows. First, the ports and capitals shall be allotted to His Majesty's royal crown. Having subtracted this, he may, from the remainder, allot 1/3 part to himself for the time mentioned in the said sections of new discoveries, and in whatever part he wishes, the other 2/3 remaining he may allot and apportion among the soldiers enrolled under his banners and those who take part in the said pacification.